outside, but it is hot here in the Fillmore Chapel. Yeah, baby. It's the first chapel service for both of us, and since I got to write the program, I made him go first. Hey, everybody. Excuse me. From the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verses 8 through 10. In that region, there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people." Do not be afraid, for I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. One of Christianity's great gifts to the world is the Christmas story, the story of the divine being birthed into the world, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. Do not be afraid, for I am bringing you good news of great joy. And isn't it the case that when we are living from the indwelling Christ's presence, we are experiencing joy? Yes? Yes. Yeah, I'm feeling joy today right now. Here at Unity Village, right here in the Fillmore Chapel, joy. Unity co-founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore taught right here in this very room. And I'm feeling that joy. Charles wrote that joy is the happiness of God expressed through man. The happiness of God expressed through man. Yeah, do not be afraid. I am bringing you good news of great joy. So when I think about happiness in my life, joy, I think of my two girls, Josie and Jamie. Yeah, they're beautiful. I had to sneak a peek. Josie is 10 years old, and she is a stage actress. In fact, right now she's appearing at the Kansas City Repertory Theater in A Christmas Carol. Show runs through the end of the year. Check it out if you get a chance. But I want to tell you actually about an experience that we had last spring when she was cast in a production, a graduate program production at the University of Missouri here in Kansas City, in a play called Burnt by the Sun. So it was opening night, and I went, of course, my pride and joy in this play, and something very unexpected happened about halfway through the second act. Sitting there watching the play, minding my own business, and I noticed that all of the adult actors leave the stage one by one. And there's my kid, center stage, seated on the steps. No lines, nobody to talk to, and the scene is still going on. And I watched her with only her body, with only her facial expressions and a few sound effects, carry this scene for about a minute and a half. That joy that wells up inside when you are watching someone you love do the thing they are created to do. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm watching my kid carry this scene all by herself with just her face, right? And you watched her go through anticipation, boredom, excitement, surprise, and then she jumped up and, So I'm sitting there, and, the thing about joy is that it is uncontainable, right? And if you know me, you know why Josie warned me before the play started, that at no time during the play would it be appropriate for me to stand up and shout, "That's my girl!" Right? So I already knew that was not allowed. So joy that cannot be contained streamed hotly down my cheeks as I watched my baby girl do her thing. Yeah. I was, in that moment, open to a joy experience. I didn't go there for joy. I went there to watch my kid. I went there to see a play. But I was open to a joy experience, and joy showed up, right? Like a FedEx delivery. Knock, 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 open the door, boom, joy. Yeah. So we open to joy. We open to the happiness of God expressed through man. So, of course, I can't talk about Josie without talking about Jamie. And let me say, and believe me when I say, that I know that your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and your nephews and all the young people in your life are perfect divine beings. but I have the microphone today, so we're going to talk about my kids just a little bit more. All right, so Jamie is also quite an actress. She could take it or leave it. She's an artist. That's her passion, art. So when the third grade musical rolled around this fall, she opted not to audition for a part, much to my disappointment, because I knew I was going to have to go watch this production. And I'm thinking I'd rather see my kid with some lines than just singing in the chorus, right? She wasn't going to have it. So I go to watch, and we're sitting just like you are, in the crowd waiting. And here comes Jamie leading the third grade out through the audience and up the stage. Correction. Here comes Jamie's smile, leading the third grade through the audience, up the stage, and onto the risers. And she takes her place center stage with just the biggest grin that you can imagine. And that grin was in her body and went through the whole production. She was not showing off. She could care less if anyone noticed her grin. She was in her own joy. She was doing what she loved to do. She loved those songs. Clouds. She sang with all her might about science, okay? And so, she totally stole the show. I mean, people were nudging. It wasn't just me. People were nudging each other and pointing because it was just so tremendous. She was being joy. Right? And it was infectious. She was on her own joy ride, you could say. Right? So we open to joy. Joy arrives. We be joy, right? We take it into our being. Then, speaking of joy rides, you have someone like Mr. Lonnie McFadden, who by profession does joy, right? Yeah. He takes the stage every night, and it is his job to create a joy experience for his audience. He chooses that profession to create joy in the world. So he does joy. So we open to joy. We take joy into our being, and we go and do joy. Yes? So, what Charles Fillmore says is right, which we agree, yes. Mostly what Charles Fillmore says is right. Yes. I'm counting how many professors are in the room. So, joy is the happiness of God expressed through humanity, through man. Which means, then, you could say that we are never outside of our joy experience, right? Because we are never outside the presence of God. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking of a time or two, maybe 100 times, when I was not exactly in my joy experience, when I wasn't on a joy ride, or my own or anybody else's. Can you think of a time or two, maybe? Or is it just me? No? Okay, so, but we know the truth is that we can never be outside of the presence of God. Therefore, we can never be outside of our joy experience, that opportunity to open to joy. So what keeps us, what gives us the illusion, the impression that we are outside of joy? Believing false thoughts, moving our mind away from things that are fixed on God, thoughts that are fixed on God. And we take those into our mind, and we hear these false thoughts. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. I don't have enough money. I'm fat. And we play these messages over and over and over again, right? And we're not in our joy. I call it the inner iPod, right? We used to say playing old tapes, right? Play, rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind. I'm saying it's like an iPod because here's the deal. An iPod, you push loop, right? And it goes over and over and over again. And the reason it does that is because if it's not true, your mind functions to convince you that it's true. You don't hear people say, oh, well, there I was just dwelling in love. Peace all day long, and I just can't get out of it. I can't get anywhere in this relationship because I'm really just stuck in my wisdom. We don't say that. If it's true, then you know that you know that you know, then you just go on about your business, right? But when it's not true, your mind sticks. You hit loop, repeat on your inner iPod, and over and over and over again you hear this message trying to convince yourself that it's true, and it's not. Maybe you create a playlist and you put that same sad song on there like 3 or 4 times and you let go of it for a while, but you keep coming back to it, right? So you make a choice to put it on loop or repeat, right? Because the natural working order of the iPod is to play and go on to the next song. Which means we can make a choice to take it off a loop. We can make a choice to play and just go with the list, right? So maybe we have a thought, a passing thought, I'm not worthy. We let it go, and we move on. And we stay in our knowing of what's true. And we know that we know that we know, and we move on. So Charles Fillmore says that joy is the happiness of God expressed through man. And he goes on to say, joy is strength-giving, especially when the mind is fixed on things of spirit. Joy is strength-giving, especially when the mind is fixed on things of spirit. Have you ever thought about joy as strength? Yeah, strength. So I'm thinking of an experience where I was outside of my joy, but joy became the strength that carried me through. And that was shortly after Jamie was born, my youngest daughter. She had a medical crisis that resulted in her having to be put in a medically induced coma for about a month. So was I scared? Yes. Was I angry? Yes. You know, my questions, what if she doesn't wake up? So was I in my faith? I don't know. What if she does wake up? What then? Was I open to joy? Yes. There I sat with my daughter, talking to her, singing to her, telling her jokes that she couldn't possibly understand. I was open to joy. Joy showed up. I was being joy. I was doing joy with my daughter. Joy showed up. It became the strength that carried me through that time. I didn't stay stuck in the doubt. I didn't stay stuck in the anger or the fear. That fear gets in the way of a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. So, joy is strength-giving. And I think, where Charles got that idea, it's written in the scriptures, in the Hebrew scriptures, in Nehemiah chapter 8, that the joy of the Lord is your strength. And so music is my language, right? And so I'm going to have Susan help kind of break this down for us a little bit. All right, it's just a quick music theory lesson. It won't hurt, I promise, all right? But you'll get it the way I did, because I hadn't really considered joy as strength-giving. I feel like, well, joy is an effect. If I feel good, if things are going well, the effect is joy. Then we are joyous and we talk happy things, right? But to think of joy as being transformational and something that can carry you through into itself, I hadn't thought of that. In Western music, we use most commonly what's called a major interval. Let's hear it. Happy, yes? Okay. Now, there's also what's called a minor interval. Not so happy, doom and gloom. Yes, yes. All right? Okay, you get it? Okay, but here's what happens. If you take the major interval and you stack on top of it a minor interval, you get what's called a dominant 7. All of a sudden, not so sad, right? We call it jazz, we call it rock and roll, and it has to resolve to a major chord, which is happiness, right? So what happens is that major chord, the strength of the major chord, the strength of the joy, carries the doom and gloom of the minor chord, leaves it there, right? It's okay to have your fear. It's okay to have your doubt. But it carries it and transforms it and moves it forward in a way that you are not staying stuck, right? And you're resolving to the joy and to the happiness. Yeah, makes sense? Yeah! Music, the other universal language, right? Okay, so Emily Cady, right, author of Lessons in Truth, the other Unity Bible, has this to say: no person or thing in the universe, not even Lonnie, no chain of circumstances can by any possibility interpose itself between you and all joy. No person or thing or circumstance, wow, can interpose itself between you and all joy. She's right. Yeah, she's right, but how easily we forget that. All right. So I got to share with you the first part of the verse. The joy of the Lord is your strength, right? That's actually the last part of this really fabulous verse. All right, so go on to the next slide. Ezra, who's a priest, says to the Israelites, go your way, eat the fat and drink the sweet wine. I told you it was good. Eat the fat and drink the sweet wine, and send portions of them to those for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy to our Lord, and do not be grieved, For the joy of the Lord is your strength. Go your way, eat the fat and drink the sweet wine. Okay, so let's get metaphysical here. This is a good time to do it. Let's start pouring sweet wine. Okay, so sweet wine is the vintage, the current year's vintage. So it's the most intoxicating wine. Okay, but wine represents the vitality of life that transforms what is held in the mind into your being. Okay, you follow? Transforms through vitality of life what is in your mind into your being. And fat, well, that's just the good stuff, right? So we're saying, Ezra is saying, take the good. Take what's good. Go your way, open to joy. Ingest it. Take it into your being. Be joy. And then take what you have and go and share it with those who have none. Do joy. It's an easy enough prescription, yeah? Yeah, and we heard that today, too, in Lonnie's song. Oh, he didn't sing it for us. I might make him sing it next. He agreed to do whatever I asked him to do. Joy to the world. We know this song, right? We hear this song every year, time after time. But in it, we find our prescription for open to joy. Be joy, do joy. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Open to joy. Let every heart prepare him room. Take it into your heart. Be it. Heaven and nature sing. We got the major chord and the minor chord stacked right there. Happiness and doom and gloom, right? But they sing in harmony. The perfect song. Open to joy. Be joy. Do joy. Take yourself on a joyride. All right? You, each and every one of you, are your own unique flavor, style, genre of joy. Open to that. Be that. Do that. You are the Christmas miracle. You are the happiness of God. You are the divine birthed into the world. So as you hold this fixed in your mind, when you find yourself thinking these things that are not true, take yourself off repeat, off loop on your inner iPod, kick shuffle and get onto a new song. Yeah? Yeah. You are the miracle of Christmas. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Merry Christmas.